Hello, everybody. Welcome into a brand new Monday edition of the Computer America Show. We have a terrific show planned for you. There's so much news and technology news that we figured we would dedicate both hours on today's show to news and technology. So it's going to be a really interesting program. Hopefully, all of you had a wonderful weekend. Maybe catch a good movie, perhaps. Anyhow, we're going to be starting in about 30 seconds. So sit back, relax as we bring to you 2 hours of the Computer America Show. Stand by. Oh boy, look at that.
That is a very interesting thing.
10 seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And it is Monday. Welcome into a Monday edition of the Computer America Show. And for those of you watching our live videos streaming, Ben looks a little different because he has relocated.
Oh, I thought you were going to point out the beard. For those of you who don't know, behind the scenes, I moved from Florida up to North Carolina for a bit.
Yeah.
So, and for the beard, you have to grow one. It's state, kind of law. So if you don't have one, they slather you in honey and wait for a bear to come, and they rub the bear fur on you. But otherwise, you grow your own, and they're happy with you. So. I apologize beforehand to all the video watchers here on Computer America.
Well, welcome into a 2-hour edition of the show. And so much has been happening with in the technology arena with news and everything. We thought we would open up the week with 2 hours of computer and technology news. Yeah, okay, because we got so much to cover, and really, it's kind of a jam-filled week, so we thought we would bring both hours to you with news.
And then, of course, because we are doing 2 hours of news, it's also 2 hours of open phone lines.
Yes,
so
exactly. And if you have a comment or a question about your computer or technology, whatever, we're here to answer your questions. Give us a call, 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. That number will get you on and get you through to the Computer America Show. If you don't want to go on the air, but you still have a question for us, we'd love to hear from you. Just go to our website, ComputerAmerica.com. Any page there, any page on the upper right-hand corner, it says submit a question. That's a link, okay? We want you to click on it. It'll take you to our question submission page. You can type in whatever you'd like. You hit the submit button, and Ben and I will see what you've typed instantaneously. Isn't that a marvel? Yes. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. It's the 21st century. Okay, come on. So everything is the internet. And even though we are a radio broadcast, we also stream live video of our show. So you can actually watch our program as well as listen to it. And the way you do that is you head over to our website, again, ComputerAmerica.com. On any page, you'll see the menu bar. It says Show Lounge. Just click that, and you'll be taken to our live video streaming page automatically. You'll join the show already in progress, and you can see Ben. You can see his new digs, and you can see that. And also, Ben has the technology to display websites, video, links, everything. You can see everything as well as hear everything on the show. It just makes for a more richer experience. In fact, everything that we do here on the broadcast is reflected at ComputerAmerica.com because it truly is the internet home of our radio broadcast. So we invite you to do that. Of course, the simplest thing, the easiest, just pick up the phone, 347-884-8881. Do people still have landlines today? It's getting less and less and less. It's just
People like there are less and less landlines, but there have never been more phones.
mm.
Ever.
What is that I'm looking at? It looks like
Good question.
I have no idea what that is. And people look at it. It looks like some sort of a painter streak of some sort. Oh, okay. All right. There you go. Ben's transition to the new location, things kind of get reset, and he's at a different internet provider. And so things have to get stabilized. He's doing a very good job because it looks pretty good now. But again, you can see all that at our live video stream at computeramerica.com. So, okay. Anything else you want to mention before we get started with our computer technology? Your trip up there wasn't so bad, right?
The trip wasn't so bad, but I mean, I have kind of a bone to pick, not with anyone in particular. Just, how do I put this? I muttered to myself many a times, and I think some of the news stories we're going to do today are going to relate to it. But that comment you just said earlier, it's the 21st century. It's the 21st century. As I was begrudgingly driving, 12 hours, 750 miles, just
dense forest.
Not hating life, but kind of out of it. Wondering, why don't I have a self-driving car yet?
Huh.
Well, there was also another qualm, and quarrel, what problem, and it involved the radio, of all things.
Really?
Because even though we are, of course, traditionally radio, I like to think that Computer America is going to be adept enough to transition over to new radio, new media, new everything. We are building up our web presence. We're trying to get on every kind of podcasting hosting site and every other streaming site we can. Facebook just has a new one. We're going to start looking into that. But as much as we believe that the future is, of course, internet based, driving in a car and for 11 hours, not just 10 minutes down the road, half an hour to work, what have you, but for driving for 11 to 12 hours, traditional radio is just the worst experience for a long distance driver.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but your radio stations come in and out. I mean, you get areas of weak spots and others of strong spots, or sometimes radio stations tend to kind of mix on the same frequency. It's it's no doubt why streaming services, Spotify, we have a news story that Spotify just hit 100 million current active users concurrently. We have other stories that show that streaming media and media just being consumed over smartphones and the internet have never been more popular. And I was driving down the road this entire time thinking, why can't I just get not satellite radio, but even just audio on my turn, essentially apps for your car? And I know they're coming, and I know newer cars have it, but my God, what a difference it makes.
Hey, your car had a USB port.
It had one, and it essentially turned the car into a giant speaker, which was nice. And after about 6 hours, I was like, forget this. Went to my favorite YouTube channel and started playing YouTube videos off of that. It was a series, but started listening to a YouTube series. And yeah, I listened to that for 3 or 4 hours. I don't know how much data I ate up along the way, but it was definitely preferable to changing radio stations every 15, 20 minutes because you leave their area.
What was the YouTube? Was it the video as well? Or was it just the audio of the YouTube?
It was a video, but because obviously it's YouTube, it was a video, but of course you could just listen to the audio. What I was listening to, you could just listen to the audio and get it.
Well, okay.
So, there are ways around it.
Hmm.
It's just, they're roundabout, and I'm wondering when it's actually going to be here. And we have a couple news stories actually, I said actually twice now, that are pointing the way that I am right, surprisingly. So we're going to talk about a couple of those.
Actually, you are. Okay. Well, that is good. A lot of cars are becoming what they call Wi-Fi hotspots. Where you it's not really over your data channel, but it's over a Wi-Fi connection. They have those built in a lot of the new cars. I'm not sure exactly how they're doing that. I assume it's probably still some sort of satellite related connection that it would have to be.
Yeah, it's I think they connect to things like cell towers. It's probably just cell phone data, like 3G, 4G, what have you, are just built into cars. Again, cars are just giant computers.
Yeah.
And phones are just little computers. Cars are giant computers. The technology really is one to one.
One of the stories we're going to be doing today is talking about 5G.
Yeah, that's what I was saying on the way down there was 5G needs to get here because that's going to be the answer. That's going to be the answer to everything I was just saying.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Just something I just had to do something here. All right. Anyway, we're going to do some computer and technology news, and so we're gonna get started momentarily. And so, why don't we do that right now?
Probably for the better.
Today's computer and technology news is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean up, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. Check them out at their website, slimwareutilities.com. You'll be very happy that you did, and you'll thank us for it. slimwareutilities.com.
All right. So, and I don't know if anyone out there who's watching the video portion, I apologize. My video portion is messing up a little bit right now, but we can still go over the articles. So just listen to the dulcet tones as we jump right into this. And like Craig said, the first one that we're going to be doing is actually is the 5G push, the push for 5G, and this coming out from Engadget and Mr. Andrew Tarantola. And this is important because 4G and 4G LTE, as great as those technologies are, it doesn't hold a candle to the possibilities of what 5G has in store for us. So, of course, it has to start with at the government level with the regulations and whatnot and the bandwidth allocated to something like 5G. And yeah, the FCC has just put forth their proposal, a little more research, and within the next month, they will be voting to make it a reality. So again, Engadget, Andrew Tarantola, and speaking at the National Press Club on Monday, was not invited. I was hurt. But Chairman Tom Wheeler made an impassioned plea for the U.S. to take the lead in developing a wireless 5G standard. And to quote Mr. Wheeler, "To seize the opportunities before us, we need the generation of wireless connectivity, a fifth generation or 5G. He said that they will seek to open up a swath of high bandwidth spectrum for 5G applications. And he's calling it the Spectrum Frontiers Proceeding. So the plan, the FCC wants to use the 200 megahertz wide chunk of bandwidth spectrum because, unlike lower frequencies, it can offer gigabit per second throughput and sub-millisecond latency. Not 100 milliseconds that I think people are used to with 4G. Not 300, but sub 1 millisecond. That's very impressive. And that would be something that the 5G applications demand. 5G will usher in an internet of everything. Tom Wheeler saying that if something can be connected, it will be connected in a 5G world. Wheeler cited various remote operation scenarios, such as surgeons using VR to operate on patients hundreds of miles away. Definitely don't want a high latency when dealing with something like surgery. You want the surgeon to have almost as real time as possible. Mm. So he expects the commission research to be completed and proposal ready to vote by July 14th. And of course, should it be adopted, America will be the first to think about or really implement something for 5G. And of course, 5G networks, it's not just flip a switch and 4G becomes 5G. You would need quite a number of of updates to the infrastructure. And the updates would, of course, happen at the state level. And, and of course, cybersecurity would also have to be very, very active in this, is what Tom Wheeler is saying. But for the actual implementation of it, not just the setting aside the bandwidth and the cell towers and whatnot, but the technology behind it and the services behind it, Tom Wheeler believes that is best left to the private sector, where Verizon and AT&T have already started testing, or I'm sorry, that they will begin testing 5G within the next year. And again, that's Verizon, AT&T, and at the Mobile World Congress, they obviously are not the only ones looking forward to a 5G future. So they're saying that turning innovators loose is far preferable to expecting committees and regulators to define the future. We won't wait for standards to be first developed in something arduous, in the sometimes arduous standard setting process, or in a government-led activity. So again, what he's saying there is that cell phone companies and other internet providers, and the people that already make 4G a reality, they will be the ones to develop the technology behind 5G. So that said, the end result of the coming 5G revolution is still very much in the air. Mr. Wheeler said that he's listed multiple examples, but of course, if anyone tells you they know the details of 5G will deliver, walk the other way, because they are there's
formulating it. Yeah, they're still
they're all speculating about what could be possible, but at least from what he set aside, which is again the 200 megahertz range, gigabit speed per second, so gigabit per second speed and sub 1 millisecond latency means that things are going to be faster and things are going to respond even quicker both ways. So it can definitely handle a lot of traffic. And 5G, and this ties into what I was saying earlier about my car ride up to North Carolina, was that something like 5G, like I got 4G the entire way. I checked my phone, I was streaming on it, I was using data. I never once fell out of 4G. I definitely fell out of 4G LTE range once in a while, but 4G, I had that the entire way.
Well, that makes sense too, because it's along a major highway.
It was.
Yeah, and it's not like you were in some little back roads or somewhere. I mean, I think the coverage of cells communications first start at major arteries, road arteries.
First major cities, and then major. Yeah.
The arteries, and then they branch out. And that's how it starts.
I'm just saying, because this technology is so ubiquitous as it is, there is no reason that maybe this 5G technology, of course, being developed for cities and for people to use, New York Cities, your Miamis, your Los Angeleses, your what have you, your Peoria, Illinois, whatever city you may live in, I can see that 5G would come to them first. But if this technology could then be expanded to coverage, just like 4G is, why isn't there a possibility that cars would be able to replace traditional radio? Because I hate to say it, but there are so few benefits to traditional AM FM that you can do so much more with a two-way communication with a 5G connection. You could send data, you could receive data, you can go to many, many different kinds of apps, you can listen to many, many kinds of things, and you get to input what you want to listen to and what you want to pay attention to, instead of just having this huge blast of a signal from AM or FM radio telling you what you want to listen to. That's the reason why we are seeing this shift from traditional television stations and traditional radio stations and traditional ways of consuming media, because people like Netflix, people like Spotify, people like Pandora, people like to choose what they listen to when they want to listen to it, and they will go out of their way to be active in what media they consume. So I think with 5G in cars, that is such a preferable way to consume media than, again, just this giant blast that AM and FM currently provides.
The other thing that you have to take into consideration, and in people tend to gloss over. They go, oh, okay, 1 gigabit, fine. I mean, that's good. Hello, folks. We're not talking about 1 gigabit, on Ethernet, which is like Google. We're talking about gigabit over the air, and that's phenomenal. I mean, these
Wireless, yes, of
wireless.
course.
We're talking about wireless connection. So a gigabit wireless is just outstanding. I mean, we live in a place where you hear Google Fiber and all these other getting 1 gigabit, 2 gigabit. And we're going, okay, we're starting to yawn. Or we're talking this over the air. It's a cellular connection, so it's a wireless connection. So that's still big news, and that's why it takes a next generation like a 5G to come along. And then, of course, once we have those that in place, then the protocols involve exactly what the communication is going to entail. So this is not coming, tomorrow or next month. This is going to be just a little tiny bit down the road, but it will get here.
Let's see. I think the AT&T and Verizon, things like that. The last time I saw one of their roadmap,
yeah,
was that they were hoping that 5G would be implemented and rolled out in stages beginning in 2019. So 3 years away, that seems like a long time, but for the promise it holds, it's going to be incredible. Like already 4G is doing a really, really good job. It's letting us consume so much data. Right. And I think that's another issue that's going to have to be brought up, is that when this new infrastructure is put into place, what is going to happen to the traditional data, data service plan? Because if you can consume 1 gig of data a second, people are going to completely destroy their data cell plans in a matter of hours instead of days or weeks.
Well, obviously they're definitely going to have to be a rethink, a readjustment to that. And of course, here's the other thing: when after 5G is in place, the cost to deliver data over that new network gets reduced, because it is a much more. So you can't do a 1-to-1. You can't say 100 megs over a 4G, delivering that same 100 megs over a 5G to the company is going to cost a lot less because of the new infrastructure. So you really can't do a 1-for-1 comparison.
From what I've been seeing, and of course it's wishful thinking, but I think a lot of people are hoping, of course, for free data, because data is going to be so easy to move, and the infrastructure, once it's put into place, is going to be so cheap that we may just see the return of unlimited cellular data.
Yeah, especially when you have capacities like that readily available now to the consumer, there will be adjustments. There's no question about it.
And again, 5G, when it does come faster, it's going to be lower latency. If it's fast enough and if it's cheap enough, we may even see a big shift away from Wi-Fi into something like 5G, because Wi-Fi, don't get me wrong, I think you can already have like a 10 gig a second Wi-Fi standards, but if all you need is a gig, then
Well, let's face it. I mean, as technology improves and cellular technology like this improves, Wi-Fi isn't going to be sitting around spinning its thumbs. I mean, there are going to be improvements to Wi-Fi technologies as well.
That's true. They're already talking about. Currently, we are on 802.11ac.
Yes.
I know there's 802.11ax that's being worked on. And yeah, you're right. So there are future standards.
Yes, there are. So, and I think it'll all kind of equalize as it all kind of gets improved together. They'll all have their own timetables, but eventually you're going to get access to faster speeds, more data for less money. And I think that's the whole idea. And as we continue to adapt these new technologies, but
I'm just looking forward to the day where I don't have to sit there and don't get me wrong, there is really good entertainment on AM and FM radios. I listen, but you can only listen to the same pop songs so many times. You can only listen to the same, and honestly, all I wanted was the BBC. I wanted to listen to the BBC. I could not get it anywhere. I don't know if they took it off the air, where I was driving, but the few times I did listen to a reasonably interesting talk show, it would be so grainy and buzzy. I would have to turn it up. And of course, the commercials blast you, but the audio quality I don't know if I'm spoiled because of the digital audio nowadays, thanks to the internet and what have you.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm spoiled by digital audio or by what, but the audio quality just completely turned me off. So
Well, now,
the internet can't wait.
yeah. Now, when you were using your iPhone in the car, I know that was the first time you were doing that because you had basically unlimited battery supply because you had the link and
Yeah, the car battery was able to support just one more little device.
so and it fed it directly into the radio, which I didn't realize it had that feature.
Well, it fed it directly into like what it did was the sound system, just like most sound systems I think you can buy nowadays. It essentially just turned the car's sound system into a speaker,
Right.
just like you would with a USB.
So
port.
I think I would have thought you could find comedy channels or things like that on your smartphone to listen to.
I could have. I listened to Pandora for a while,
Yeah.
and they, of course, I have comedy and things like that. But that's the great thing about 5G and phones and all that whatnot. I don't have to settle for, I'm in the car. I have to listen to a station. I have to listen to, if I wanted to, I could have, popped up Netflix and listened to, my favorite television show while I was driving down the road.
You didn't watch it, but you could.
I shouldn't watch it. But no, I definitely I was just listening to stuff. But that's the great thing about 4G, 5G phones and cars is that you get to pick whatever you want. You're not restricted.
Yeah, it is really nice. It really is nice. All right, well, another glimpse into the future. Not that far off.
It needs to hurry up.
Yes, it does. Okay. All right. Ben and I are continuing to do computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. This one's, I think, is a quick one from Engadget. Google. Google will tell you to find stuff. And well, guess what? Dr. Google is here. That's right, because Google can now tell you why you're feeling sick. Okay. But the commentary, again, according to Billy Steele from Engadget, says we'll still want to consult an actual physician. But, there it is.
Well, yeah, you just like how you don't want to go to WebMD and say, "Oh, turns out I do have yellow fever or what have you." You may just have a cold.
Yeah. Well, Google has made improvements to how do you search for symptoms and illnesses in the past, and now it's looking to be even more helpful. Google will now show you a list of medical conditions when you search for symptoms. So it's basically acting as a diagnostician. That's what it's really doing, which I think therein lies the value. Because, when you walk into a doctor's office and say, I have this, this, and this, and he'll look at you, I don't know what you got. But then they have to run tests and everything. But, the initial process for most medical visits or spontaneous medical visits, where you're not there for your annual checkup or for something that you already know, is for them to diagnose what it is that you have. And therein lies the crux of so much of the medical process, if you will.
And of course, that's where I've been spouting the virtues of things like Google's DeepMind and things. IBM's Watson, that is even also getting into this, is that you as a patient, you are, I don't want to say at the mercy, but you have to put yourself in the hands of the best doctor. And don't get me wrong, you may have the best doctor in the world. He may hands down win awards left and right for best doctor, whatever. But at the end of the day, he's still one man with one lifetime of learning and one lifetime of cases that he can compare you to.
Yeah.
Whereas a computer, as the article says, Google has access to millions of lifetimes of learning.
Right. Well, it's a knowledge-based system. That's what all these things are. They're an intelligent knowledge-based system. So, for example, if you entered in the phrase, "I have a headache on one side," well, with this Dr. Google, it'll bring up a group of related conditions that include headache, migraine, common cold, sinusitis, and common cold. And when you search for something less specific, just like headache, Google will serve up information on the issue alongside some self-treatment options that might keep you from having to go to the doctor. Google says it's offering all of these details strictly for informational purposes, and you should always consult a real doctor for proper medical advice. They say that because we live in a litigious society and they don't want to get sued, which certainly makes sense. In other words, don't try to diagnose your severe cold through a search results. However, the company did consult with a team of doctors to review symptom information and experts at Harvard Medical School and the Mayo Clinic evaluated the conditions to help improve the lists. That's in addition to collected data from medical searches and doctors and Google's own knowledge graph.
One funny use case I had heard about this was that Google, of all people, could, and I know Twitter was working on this as well, but Google could track the course of the common cold and could even tell people within, I want to say, within the week or within the day that they were going to contract the common cold.
Mm-hmm.
And they did this by the fact that whenever everyone gets cold, they go to Google and they say common cold symptoms, or they say common cold medicine. And Google could track its own results, and it could track it across the U.S. as it went, and people were contracting it.
All right, well, there's a little bit more to the story, but we're at the bottom of the hour, so we'll pick it up on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Computer America Show. We've got a brand spanking new News Tips Bulletin review from Marty Winston. It's the Best Tech Totable Power Strip. This is kind of cool. We're going to listen to that. As I said, we got some commercial breaks, and then we'll be right back. You're listening to the Computer America Show. Please don't go anywhere.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons: accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons: accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
That sun. I just saw a cloud waving a white flag. Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin review for Computer America. This time, the Best Tech Totable Power Strip. So you get to the hotel room, and there's only one free outlet hidden behind a desk or dresser or headboard. What are your options? A cool new Best Tech Totable Power Strip has 2 grounded AC outlets plus 2 built-in USB charging ports. Its flat fabric-wrapped cord wears a hook and loop strap, so it takes less room in a suitcase than, say, a short salami. A green LED confirms power, but wait, it gets better. One of those USB ports is Quick Charge 2 compatible, and the other good for 2.4 amps. Bottom line, the Best Tech Totable Power Strip with its built-in QC2 compatible USB port is now officially our new Go Bag traveling companion. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Yet another tool in Marty Winston's arsenal as he travels. I've actually met him out at CES this year, and he seems very, very well prepared in terms of traveling. I don't know if it's because he's an old pro or what, but he seems to have just the tool for every occasion. When I did meet him. So, yep. Thank you, Marty Winston, for that News Tip Bulletin review.
Yeah, maybe.
And
Maybe you say he's an old pro. Maybe he's just old, or a pro could be.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but there you go, Craig. And yeah, so going forward, we are doing computer and technology news brought to you by Slimmer Utilities. And Craig is still on this article from Gadget about Google.
Yeah, Dr. Google. And basically, it's a new knowledge base, but it's using artificial intelligence too. So you can put in things like, have a pain on one side of my head, and it could tell you that you're having a stroke or you're having something. It'll tell you. And Google is now providing this, and of course, all the caveats saying, don't rely on this. Go see a doctor. This is just sort of like informational. And I guess they have to say that because, again, in the litigious society that we live in, God forbid something happens and someone doesn't do something based upon the information they got from them, they could turn around and sue. So they're very careful about this. But it has good backgrounds. They've had experts from Harvard Medical School and the Mayo Clinic to contribute to the lists, but it all boils down to, if you're a fan of the TV series House, that's what he was. He was a diagnostician. And basically patients would come in with symptoms, and then his job,
and everything was lupus.
Yeah, it's his job to determine what was wrong. And boy, things could go really, really wrong very, very quickly if you're a fan of that show. It ran 8 seasons. Hugh Laurie starred, and that was really good. Anyhow, getting back to this story again from Engadget. Basically, Google also wants to know if the information it gives you in response to your queries is helpful. See, it's going to ask you to offer feedback on the feature. So I guess that's a further refinement. I guess they want to hear back from people saying, hey, it found a hitherto undetected heart murmur or something, whatever it might find.
It wants to know. It wants to know that hey, we think you have the common cold, and if you say yes, I did have the common cold, thank you, Google, then that is just going to be more data for Google to say, all right, it's working, it's not working, and they can improve it.
Yeah, because if you think you had the common cold and you have malaria or something, well, that could be a problem. So,
or to be topical, Zika. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Now, evidently, the new symptoms search. I don't know if they're actually calling it Dr. Google, but
I doubt it.
Yeah, but the new symptoms search is rolling out on the mobile platform over the next few days in the U.S., but of course, it's only going to be in English. Google says that it eventually it plans to expand the tool to other countries and languages, while also including answers about more symptoms. I mean, how many symptoms can there be? I guess there's a lot of symptoms out there.
There's tons of symptoms.
Well, not only tons of symptoms and tons of diseases that cause, and because a disease causes a symptom, it might be a slightly different symptom on different people too.
Again, I think your analogy of the show House is really apt here. If you've seen any number of episodes, you'll see that, it's like, oh, yes, this, and it's like, oh, it is that. And then 45 minutes later, they go, are your feet swelling? And then everything goes up in the air. And then it turns out feet swelling and all those other symptoms actually mean this disease. Or they diagnose something and they do have it, but then they're like, how long have you been coughing up blood for? And then all of a sudden they have 2 diseases at the same time, and it's not, and it's not just one disease, but it's 2 diseases. So there's obviously a lot of symptoms, and there are a lot of diseases that you can have simultaneously, or only catch in certain places in certain parts of the world. But I gotta say, only in English. Let's take into account that, of course, medicine has a lot of roots in Latin. I would assume Latin would have been the first language, but English is good too. English is good.
Of course, also the geographical locations that you live in you can have different diseases that wouldn't necessarily ever exist in another geographical location. However, that model is tending to change in and of itself, because we live in with jets and everything, ways that diseases can travel now that were just never available, back in the early days. Things get a lot more murky. Look at Ebola. Ebola was what?
Well, yeah, that's why and again, to be topical, Zika, when they have reported cases here in the U.S., they, not only do they quarantine the person so they don't, kind of infect anyone else, but they also ask, who did you meet? Who did you talk with? Who did you interact with? and they have to go, well, I interacted with the person who took a jet from here while he was on a business trip. I mean, it's no more than one or two people before you're dealing with people all the way around the world.
Yeah, it does. It's. I don't envy the job of the World Health Organization or the CDC. I mean, it's just a whole different day and age that we live in now, and it just gets incredibly difficult to track these.
Which is why machine learning, and let's face it, this is the fundamentals of artificial intelligence, is going to be such a big player in the coming future. And I think it's actually kind of cool that not only Google, of course, has theirs, and IBM has their machine learning, but there are companies just dedicated to machine learning, and they're building entire companies just by giving other companies the consultation of a machine learned program, where instead of let's say instead of Apple building its own machine learning kind of artificial intelligence, they go out to this other one, they feed all their data into it, and of course these other companies can buy data by the fistful, and then tons and tons of other companies are more than willing to pay the money to get access to what that machine learning software knows. So we're seeing companies that are solely dedicated, like they don't have a product, like their only product is that machine learned software, and they are making a go of it just by having access to that rudimentary artificial intelligence. So, I think that's really cool.
It is. It's very, very cool. All right. Well, there you go. The latest on Dr. Google. We still know what it's going to be called.
It's not going to be Dr. Google. It's just going to be a normal Google search result. And of course, if you've ever used Google for illnesses, they have usually they link to like the Mayo Clinic or some of these other ones or WebMD. But Google has started to just like now, if you go to Google and you type in what's 24 times 24, it won't send you to a website that has the number. Google will just tell you the answer. They'll do that now with symptoms. You type in what you have or what you want to know, and Google itself will kind of serve you up the answer while linking to the source material, which is on another site. So it's going to be a continuation of that. Google will essentially serve you up directly, and this is your illness. So they're working on it. Okay. Let us go on and folks. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say. If any of you live out in Arizona ways, New Mexico ways, Southern California ways, I just want to say, I've been dealing with heat my whole life, living in South Florida. It's not fun, but the heat wave that has been spreading through the southwestern United States and moving into the middle of the United States, where I think yesterday in Phoenix, I want to say, it hit 122 degrees.
That's like getting to an oven. I mean, it's just...
ovens do go up to 122. I think they get a little bit hotter than that, but I'm no chef. But 122, I can't, and let's hope you park in the shade, because in the sun, I do not know if cars melt, but I bet we could find out in that kind of heat. So I hope you all are doing okay.
You could definitely fry an egg on the sidewalk and something.
Definitely, no doubt. But then your eggs covered it in foot traffic. That's disgusting. So there's one recent event, and the other recent event, this just happened yesterday, I believe. Craig, you're a fan of the new Star Trek?
Yes, I am.
Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Trek, the reboot. Yeah, and one of the actors that that plays a leading role in the Star Trek
Ensign Chekhov
series. Yeah, Ensign Chekhov. The actor behind Chekhov got into a car accident yesterday.
Yeah.
It's so out of the blue that it took a lot of people by surprise. But his name.
He was 27 years old.
27 years old, and just starting his acting career. I mean, Star Trek, that's AAA. That's about as big as you get.
Yeah.
And 27 years old, freak car accident, and his name was Anton Yelchin. And of course, as news spreads, Star Trek fans were left in shock, posting remembrances of the actor on social media, and of course, the co-stars of Anton also had their own well wishes to say, and there was a massive outpouring for that. But yeah, I just want to put that out there. Go look at the memorials if you wonder why there's an uptick in Anton Yelchin kind of photos or news related buzz. It's because 27 car accidents happen all the time. It's crazy.
But look at all their LeVar Burton, even William Shatner. I mean, Michael Dorn. I mean, look at this, Mark Hamill. I mean, it's the celebrities of people who responded to this. Simon Pegg, the director himself.
That's just the celebrities. That doesn't count all the fans that have showed their outpouring.
Very sad. Very, very sad. All right, we're continuing doing computer and technology news, brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. And then this next story, we keep talking. We just had Dariush Derakhshani, our graphics correspondent, E3. We've been talking about all the different things out there. NVIDIA, we were talking about their Pascal
architecture, right?
Architecture, right. Well, evidently, according to this story from PC World, and it's Agam Shah reported this. NVIDIA.
Good old Agam Shah. What a good guy.
Monstrous Pascal GPU-powered Tesla P100 is also getting a PCI-E version 2 as well. Now, he says some of the world's fastest computers employ NVIDIA's graphics processors for computer vision, deep learning, and scientific calculations, and the new GPU will supercharge these applications. It's the Tesla P100, plugs directly into a PCI Express slot and will speed up tasks like economic forecasting and weather modeling. The GPU is also targeted at servers and will play a big role in helping self-driving cars, robots, and drones identify objects. This is not necessarily the card you would use for, let's say, for your home personal computer for playing World of Warcraft. This is
I believe this is the next iteration of where the Titan X kind of stopped, because the Titan X itself was never really meant to be a consumer oriented product. The Titan X was meant to be crammed into a bunch of servers, and it was very, very efficient. It had a lot of cores. It could do a lot of simultaneous calculations. This Tesla P100 seems to be the next iteration beyond the Titan X.
Right. One system with the Tesla P100 chips is NVIDIA's DGX1, which can be purchased for the mere price of $129,000. It has 8 Tesla P100 GPUs, but NVIDIA said that server makers like Cray, Dell, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise will start taking orders and delivering systems with the GPU starting in the 4th quarter this year. It's interesting, a lot of our stories today all have to do with supercomputers coming out of China and everything. So it's a couple of really interesting stories. This kind of sort of ties in. He says there are slight speed differences between the 2 different versions of the Tesla P100 GPU for PCIe and the other model too. But basically, you're in teraflop country. You're 4.7 teraflops of double precision performance. Okay. The single precision performance is 9.3 teraflops compared to 10.6 teraflops on the NVLink version of this.
I think the NVLink version is the non-PCIe compatible one, because the PCIe it has like a smaller kind of footprint, so you can fit more of them into the same area.
Yeah. Basically, the article finishes up, says this graphics processing unit or GPU will also appear in multiple supercomputers in the future. Okay, so this is really a supercomputer product, but as Ben said, the Titan X started out that way too, and now you can buy it. So perhaps maybe the same thing will happen with this card too, eventually.
Yep. Because NVIDIA doesn't just supply graphics cards for consumers and gamers and what have you. They also supply a lot of the computing power that is used for, like they said, weather modeling and machine learning, like we've been talking about. Just these cards that, like Craig said, aren't needed for video games, but they're needed for tons and tons and tons of applications that we don't even think about.
Yeah, exactly.
And among these tons and tons and tons and tons of applications that we don't think about, China has a new supercomputer that can do tons and tons and tons. And I think this is one of the really cool things about all these new kind of speed ups we've been talking about, is not just seeing them in a home system for $15,000. It's not just cool seeing how much better they are than the previous generation, but new technology, I think, is best shown off in supercomputer settings where there is no dollar limits. It's the best money can buy, and you put in as much as you can, and not because you want to profit off of individual little things, but the fact that if you have the fastest supercomputer in the world, you can then take jobs from the biggest companies in the world that no one else can do. So this one out of China, it is now the newest king of the supercomputing world. And again, that's not really a crown you get to keep but for more than a couple months, because there's a new supercomputer every couple months. But this is quite the amazing one. This is from Ars Technica, Mr. John Brodkin, and 10 million core supercomputer. Folks, the computer that you have sitting in front of you, if it's an i5, has about 7 cores, whatever hyperthreading does to it, 7, 8 cores, maybe 5. An i3 has like 3 cores. An i7, of course, 7 to 10 cores. This is 10 million cores.
They're saying it's the world's fastest supercomputer for the first time in 3 years. Wow.
Yep. So, it has 93 petaflops per second, and tripling the speed record of the old one. So
93 petaflops. Wow.
That is crazy computing power. So a Chinese supercomputer called Sunway Taiyu Lights now ranks as the world's fastest, nearly tripling the previous supercomputer speed record with a rating of 93 petaflops per second. That's 93 quadrillion floating point operations. So, or, again, because I think a lot of people are even confused about what a quadrillion is, that's 93 million billion. That's a lot of zeros, folks.
It is really incredible.
So, yeah.
A second.
So this supercomputer, so this supercomputer surpassed another Chinese supercomputer, the Tianyi 2, which we talked about when that came to power, which had been the world's fastest for 3 consecutive years at speeds of 33.9 petaflops. And according to the latest top500.org ranking released today. So they also based on the LinPack benchmark, which requires each cluster to solve a dense system of linear equations. So not only did this thing take the crown, but it trounced second place 3 times faster than second place. This is such a boost. So they're saying that that the Chinese supercomputer with 10,649,600 computing cores, comprised of 41,000 nodes, is twice as fast and 3 times as efficient as Tianyi 2. So, and though it does say it is also one of the most efficient systems out there, saying that at peak power consumption under load, at 15.37 megawatts, or 6 gigaflops per watt. So, they obviously have benchmarks of all these kind of things, but it's not just how much electricity you can pump into this thing. It's also how efficiently all your parts can be using that same amount of electricity. Because I don't think people want to build another, 50 megawatt nuclear power plant every time a new supercomputer comes online to just feed that one thing. They want to use the same infrastructure to power these things. And at 15.37 megawatts, don't get me wrong, that's the size of a small city just for a computer. But it's very, very efficient at what it does. So, of course, Tianyi 2 has been the world's fastest in 6 consecutive rankings, which are released twice a year. Tianyi 2 took the top spot the first time in June 2013, beating the previous fastest supercomputer, which held the position just once. So, yeah, I don't know how much there is to say about this, other than this is just a really, really fast computer.
Okay.
And it's going to be exciting to see what they can do with all this power.
Okay, so now the consumer me comes out and says, what if you use it to mine Bitcoins, with this processor?
Well, because the Bitcoin mining process, the blockchain, is only valuable, like who was that? I think it was Mike Cermak. There we go. I forgot his name for a second. Mike Cermak said that at this point, there are so many people mining Bitcoin that unless you're using a very specialized system to mine Bitcoin, like not even your home computer, but one built specifically for mining and using the least amount of electricity as possible, it's not profitable. This thing would probably chomp through the blockchain in, hours. Like, this thing is so powerful.
Right.
But at the same time, the amount of Bitcoin that it would unlock by, solving the blockchain, it would probably not be efficient monetary wise by any means. Because really, with 10 million cores all working on the blockchain, that's going to drive the, the supply demand side of the blockchain. That's going to drop the demand by so much. It's going to be even worthless to even mine it in the first place. Like, they could probably ruin Bitcoin. That's something that this supercomputer can do, but it probably couldn't make money on Bitcoin.
Well, China is out there. Maybe they'd if they wanted to use it for that.
Right. And again, this is a Chinese supercomputer. As much as I like the last time a U.S. supercomputer, I think it was like Jaguar. I think it was last time a U.S. supercomputer held the title, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. As much as I would like it to be the U.S. based, China is definitely leading the way in supercomputing power, and this is very, very incredible.
All right, and then putting on the other hat, what if you played World of Warcraft on something like this?
Dude, the settings can only go so high. I don't know what you're expecting. I don't know if you're expecting, well, just throw enough cores at this thing and it will turn World of Warcraft into reality. The settings only go up so high.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, too bad. Because I know they've equalized, so people with faster computers don't have an unfair advantage. So if you try,
no, but I mean, visually, it's going to look better.
Yeah, visually it look better. The graphics would be stunning. Yeah. All right, well there it is. And speaking of high-tech computers and costing so much, here's another story from Engadget that researchers built a 1,000 core processor. But what makes this so amazing? It's called the Kilo Core. And it uses such a tiny bit of amount of power that you can power it with one AA battery.
I think what is important to note the difference between something like this, where a researcher, like, this is something done in a lab that shows, possible future development of the technology. While we were just talking about the 10 million core supercomputer, that's not in a lab. That is ready to be used by the companies around the world to actual compute. So the difference between these two is that one is research and one is practical, ready to be used product.
Right. Well, they
just going into this.
Yeah. Well, they developed it at UC Davis, and they developed this thing called the Kilo Core, a CPU that packs a whopping 1,000 cores, extremely handy for very parallel tasks like encryption, crunching scientific data, and coding videos. And importantly, it's not just about performance. Thanks to its ability to shut down individual cores, the chip can handle 115 billion instructions per second while just using 0.7 watts of power.
I feel like the story would have a much bigger impact if we didn't just do one about the fastest supercomputer in the world.
Yeah. But as it said, that's enough that you could run it off of a lone AA battery, folks. I mean, that's amazing. Okay. I just, we had one end of the spectrum, and then I wanted to zip down to the other end of the spectrum here. This is just now, obviously, you aren't about to see mass production of this computer. The university had IBM manufacture the chip on a relatively ancient 32-nanometer process, which, when the industry's newest processors are actually made using a smaller, more efficient 14-nanometer technique. However, It raises the possibility of many core processors finding their way into many mobile devices. They're not universally helpful. Many tasks are better served by a few very fast cores, but they could save a lot of time when your laptop or phone would otherwise churn slowly.
That's a very important point because I've received a laptop for gaming purposes, and they put in an i7 2.0 gigahertz.
Uh-huh.
It woefully underperformed the i5, not the i7, the i5 at 3.3 gigahertz. So sometimes it's better, a single program can't take resources from 1,000 different cores. Programs just aren't built that way. So sometimes, like they said, it is better just for a couple faster cores.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we've got lots more coming up here in the next hour. We're doing computer and technology news. We've got a story called GameStop is in the news again, and Nintendo's next system will support physical retail games. That's interesting. There's some Microsoft testing new tool to remove OEM crapware. That looks really, really interesting. And also how Wayfair and Lowe's are going to tap into Lenovo's Tango phone to spruce up your space. Those stories and more, a news tip review coming up as well. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we continue on in hour 2. By the way, we talked a little bit about the temperature in the opening hours. Fortress, Star Fortress, one of our listeners, reported that
he's not just one of our listeners. He is the man behind the ever-popular Computer America Twitter feed.
Yes, he is. They're reporting 111 to 112 degrees Fahrenheit today. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. That is not...
What, and I guess the pragmatist in me says, what can you do with that kind of temperature? Because, it seems like a crime against humanity, but... I guess you can preheat your oven by taking it outside and then leaving it out there for a couple hours and bring it back inside. So that's useful, I guess.
Yeah.
Preheat. Defrost your food. There you go. Take it from the freezer, put it outside, and within minutes, that thing will be ready to pop in the oven, microwave, what have you.
That definitely would do it. Okay, so... anyhow, welcome into the second hour of the show, and Ben and I are doing computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. I have to say, because there's so many stories that we're doing news stories for both hours. We just finished up the one story with the little 1,000 core computer that runs
highly efficient.
Yes, runs off a AA battery. Just amazing. The China's latest king of the supercomputers. We talked about that story. Anyhow, if you missed any portion of the show, you can certainly listen to it again. If you came in here late, just head over to ComputerAmerica.com. On any page, just click the archive tab, and you can see all the different places you can listen to archives of the show, as well as places you can listen to the show live with Apple's iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, the TuneIn Radio Network, the IRN Radio Network, all carry the show. So we're going to continue on now. I did the lesser, so it's your turn to pick a story.
It is my turn. And we are going to head back over to Engadget. And New York, I don't know what they have been up to, but they are passing a lot of legislation that is making things illegal making things legal and illegal left and right that involves technology. And this is probably one of my favorite ones because I've heard a lot of complaints about this. Is that Craig? I don't know how active you are in like the concert going scene, but there's a troubling trend that's going on about ticket scalping bots.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah, like the venues will put up tickets for sale on their website, very convenient.
Mhm.
And then a third party, whichever third party you may like, certain third parties will go in and using bots book, reserve, buy tickets, and pre-buy the tickets before people even get a chance, because again, they're robots. They do this very, very efficiently and very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And they purchase every single seat that is available. So what will look like a sold out show, you now have the only option is to go to these third party sites if you want to go to it and buy their jacked up prices on these tickets.
They should make that illegal. And guess what?
They should. And New York criminalizes it. So this is again from Gadget, Mr. Steve Dent, and the law aims to end the frustrating buying experience of New Yorkers. So, and of course, it starts off by saying, if you fail to get the tickets for your favorite band, even though your finger was poised on the buy link the instant they went on sale, don't worry, you never stood a chance. And that's because they were all purchased, like I was saying earlier, by bots that in one case purchased 1,012 Madison Square Garden U2 tickets in less than a minute. That must seem really impressive if you're U2 and you say, wow, look how fast they're going. They really like us. And then you find out, oh, wait, they're just robots. Okay. So
you see, I think the theater.
Well, yeah, and that's why it hasn't been legal up until now.
Yeah.
Was that the venues, the only person that really gets hurt in this transaction is the consumer, because the venue, they get face value for every single ticket that they put up on pre-sale,
which is all they can do. I mean, a venue can't charge more than the face price.
Right. Yeah, they are pretty fixed on their prices.
Right.
But when they're fixed on, $35 for this section, $65 for front row, it's just kind of standard for what the venue charges. But then these robots come in and they say, all right, well, there's a lot of demand for this. Those $35 tickets have now just become $105 tickets. And these front row $65 tickets are now $300 a piece. I mean, they can do that because, scalping, while you can't do it in person, online, hey, that's just the way the operation works.
Yeah, but scalping is illegal. I think any where you are. Yeah, exactly.
In person. If a cop comes up to you and you're trying to scalp him in the parking lot, you can get in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
So, and of course, the state of New York has declared that scalpers who use them could get fines and even jail time, saying that, quote, New Yorkers have been dealing with this frustrating ticket buying experience for too long. That coming from the state assembly member Marcos Crespi. So, using such bots was illegal before, but only brought civil, not criminal sanctions. However, a 3-year investigation by the New York Attorney General found that the practice was so widespread that the state had to take harsher measures. Ticketing outlets and credit card companies revealed that bots scoop up the best seats in seconds, which scalpers then resell at prices many times over face value. So now they face a Class A misdemeanor for anyone who exploits software for this purpose.
And you know what's going to happen? Someone's going to get caught, and they're going to be made an example of. It
usually happens. Let's say, of course, it's not as illegal as, let's say, something like swatting, but as harsh as that first case is going to be, it's going to send the message that these things are not okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So, of course, the article finishes up by saying that it may not be the end of new laws targeting scalpers, saying that they also singled out event insiders, including the artists, who in some cases reserve over half the tickets for themselves.
Yeah.
He also targeted the ticketing agency that often tack on fees of over 20%, turning a reasonable $50 ticket into a $60, a deal breaker for many folks. And of course, I think what he's talking about there is things like convenience fee, where for the convenience of you doing it yourself, they tack on another $7, $8.
Now
things
they
like that.
Yeah. Now, if the artist who reserves over half the tickets for themselves, if they're not reselling it, if he's just giving them away,
they do resell it.
Yeah.
They do that. That's happened quite a few times where they'll book a venue, and like these are for like the really, really, really big artists. The ones that that can afford to buy out half their show, and potentially not sell any of them. But they'll buy out half their show, and then they'll sell tickets exclusively through a third-party dealer, or they'll sell tickets exclusively through their own website, and then they'll scalp the tickets there. I know this, this has been happening with a couple of, and again, I don't want to name any in particular because I don't know enough about the cases there, but this has happened with, the artists will purchase their own tickets, sell them to a third party, and the third party will then scalp on behalf of the artist. And the artist, being big enough, they'll get their cut, and then they'll get a little bit more because they scalped, and then the third party gets these primo seats that the artist reserved, and there everyone makes money except the consumer.
Yeah, they get hurt in the end. Right.
Instead of getting a reasonable product by going through so many hoops, by going through so many third parties and reserving seats and that kind of thing, they're taking, they get money taken from them hand over fist. Yeah. So it's good to see New York, and because let's face it, New York, between baseball games, between theater, between movie theaters, between artists and singers and what have you, I think this is a huge problem for New York in general because they have so many people willing to go see entertainment, and tickets are a large part of that. So
that's true.
I can see why this starts in New York.
Right. And it's not ending in New York. I mean, New York continues to increase legislature because it's not only with entertainment venues, it's also with apartments. Gadget.
Yeah, this and like when you hear about it, it's like, oh, that's a logical thing to do, but I can see how that's a wrap deal for the consumer.
Yeah. Well, here's another deal that will help to protect the consumer. New York votes to ban ads for whole apartments on Airbnb. Okay. Basically, this decision is putting teeth into existing law protecting residents against illegal hotels. I mean, so see, evidently, New York already makes it illegal to offer your whole apartment for short-term rentals through services like Airbnb, but it's giving that legislation some added teeth. As part of a flurry of end-of-term approvals, the state's Assembly and Senate have voted for a bill that will make it illegal to just advertise your entire place for a short rental that's under 30 days. If you do, you're going to face a $1,000 fine the first time you're caught, $5,000 the second time, and $7,500 the third time. Governor Cuomo still has to sign the bill into law, but that's likely to be a mere formality. So assuming the measure becomes a law, it'll please some local residents as well as the hotel and real estate businesses. They've complained that services like Airbnb enable illegal hotels that both take away apartments for honest-to-goodness residents and drive up rental rates at the units that are left. See, in theory, this makes it too costly to even consider the tactic. Unless the offending hosts lie about the nature of their rentals, it could be too costly to run these makeshift accommodations. That's basically the crux of it.
Well, yeah, this is where people with a large amount of starting money. I mean, Airbnb, if you want to make a couple extra dollars at the end of the day to meet to pay whatever you need to pay for, you rent out a room on Airbnb, you get some cash that way. But if you have entire apartment buildings that are just set up to be Airbnb hosting sites, how can any one individual on Airbnb justify renting in that kind of environment?
No. But now, according to this article, also says Airbnb isn't happy about this. It portrays the bill's approval as a conspiracy between the government and the hotel industry and argues that it'll increase the odds of bankruptcy, eviction, or foreclosure for 30,000 state residents who might otherwise struggle to make ends meet. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think that's, of course, if 30,000 people in New York were really using this, it's a great service. I've used it myself. I've stayed at an Airbnb. It's very, very useful.
It is.
But at the same time, the people that this law is going to be targeting aren't the they aren't the person who's renting it out every once a week. They aren't the people who get maybe 6-7 people a month. That's not who these charges are going to be up against.
No.
It's going to be up against these people who rent 2,000 apartment units
Yeah.
and put all 2,000 of them up on Airbnb, and kind of push out any kind of competition that the individual may be able to get on Airbnb. Like, this is actually better for the Airbnb consumer, but Airbnb's statement, they're hiding behind we're protecting our loyal customers. Good
Yeah.
for you. But we also see that Airbnb really, really, really enjoys having 20,000 people
Yeah.
use its platform to book something. So this is a huge source of revenue. I can see why Airbnb would be against it.
Yeah, well, it goes on to say the truth is mixed here. He says, while some of the people who were earnestly trying to make money while away from home, it's no secret that many others were snapping up properties solely to profit from Airbnb stays. The would-be law should limit short-term rentals to people who actually live in their homes. So that would be so that stops the people who buy a 2,000 apartment building, because he's not living in all 2,000 apartments. He's a landlord.
Well, let's face it. Just like the last story was with ticket sales,
Mhm.
this is with temporary residents
Mhm.
in New York City. This is it's no surprise again that New York City is pioneering this, is because they have a huge hotel industry. Tourism is massive in New York City,
Mhm.
and Airbnb is obviously, because it has massive tourism, Airbnb is going to be massively in demand. So when you're living there, you start to see all of these apartments just purchased outright, because just like you're saying, they're sitting on them and turning them into Airbnb factories where people are just coming in. You have no intention of ever living there, but by using Airbnb, that apartment will pay for itself and then some. So honest to good people who are trying to meet ends meet, or even people who are looking for an apartment, they now have to compete against people who want to make money off of what they would call home.
Mm.
It like all these and that's why, if you look at the picture there, people kind of picketing Airbnb, and well, not Airbnb, but the practice of purchasing apartments just for Airbnb, it drove rent up, because hey, you could see an apartment making loads and loads of money, and you're sitting there still charging your tenants the same amount, when you could be charging a lot more and selling to these people who just want to use them for Airbnb.
Yeah.
So the people that live there get their rent hiked up, sometimes by, like the sign there says, 42%, or you could not live there. It's, again, another practice not good for consumer, and it's good to see New York is, again, kind of putting some teeth, as the article said, into something that was already illegal.
Yeah, well, something has to be done. You're right. I mean, it certainly makes a lot of sense, and I guess it makes sense that all this is starting first in New York City. I guess it makes a lot of sense, because that's a huge.
Well, yeah. If you go to New York City, you used to have to stay at a hotel, and they have massive hotels in New York City. Now with Airbnb, anyone's apartment is a hotel room, and people who want to purchase 1,000 random apartments, apartments. But yeah, for anyone out there who wants to purchase 1,000 random apartments,
Mhm.
all of a sudden, just like the article said, you'd be running a quote unquote illegal hotel just by having those 1,000, just by having those 1,000 apartments available for rent.
Yeah. And it's only because hotels obviously have all kinds of other licensing issues and
Right. And Airbnb, it's absolutely none, because it's not supposed to be a hotel type business. It's supposed to be, hey, I have an extra room, or I'm leaving my place for a week. Come stay at my place.
Right. You live there, and then you're offering someone access to that extra room or what have you. That certainly makes a lot.
It shows that people will learn how to make money off of new technology. I mean, this is why eBay, I'm sure lots and lots of people, like let's say the example of eBay, if you go on eBay or Craigslist or one of these other online kind of marketplaces,
Mhm.
even Amazon to some lesser extent, car dealerships where before they had to rely on cheesy local commercials or newspaper ads.
Mhm.
Now every single car listing is available through Craigslist and eBay. If you try to buy a car on eBay, it's very, very overwhelmingly dealership cars on eBay.
Yep.
Even though eBay is supposed to be a consumer to consumer type business, businesses are learning that these consumer to consumer places are actually pretty good for reaching, again, consumers, because they can put whatever they want up there and tons of consumers will see it. And it gets confusing. What is just another dealership and what is someone actually trying to get rid of a car? And that makes all the difference. So we're seeing that these applications pop up left and right, but traditional businesses are taking advantage of them and saying, oh, this was a good idea. We're going to adapt a little bit and make a lot of money off of it.
Yeah.
Which you can't blame them. I mean,
Mhm.
where there's money to be made, there's someone sitting there willing to make it.
Yep. Okay. We continue on. Again, interesting story. And we're doing computers and technology news. We got a news tips bulletin review, another brand spanking new one coming up in a little bit. What else is in the news, Ben?
Right. Okay. So you did that last one. So how about we do this one? This is an iPhone 7 rumor.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Uh-huh.
And one of the rumors that we have been talking about, and again, the nature of rumors, this new article says that the rumor may not even be true. We just wasted a ton of time. So that is depending on if this particular rumor, where that rumor is not true, and this one is. But the iPhone 7 may keep the headphone jack and even support dual SIM cards.
Oh, that's nice. Well, dual SIM, that will allow you to have more than one phone number on your.
More than one phone number and more than one carrier.
It's like they call it like dual NAM. The old term, I think, was called dual NAM cell phones, where you could have two phone numbers on one cell phone. That's interesting. Okay, continue.
Right. So, of course, as we were saying, one of the most intriguing rumors about the iPhone 7 was the move to ditch the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which Craig was overwhelmingly for.
Well, let me tell you why. Something happened to me just this past weekend. I as you know, I keep my iPhone 6s in my shirt.
Did you leave your phone out, like outside, and I don't know, a family of squirrels moved into the 3.5 millimeter? Why are you so against that little hole in your phone?
I'm going to tell you why. So I keep it in my shirt pocket. Well, the other night was like last night, the night before, actually. I took the phone out and I put it down, and I looked at it, and I saw, when I looked at the 3.5 millimeter jack, I saw something like white in there, and it turns out that some pocket fuzz or a little piece of cloth had actually,
I believe it's called lint.
Yeah, gotten into the. So I had to go and get a little sewing needle, and it was able
to blow it out.
I tried blowing it out. It would not come out. So then I took this thing, and it turned out the reason that it wouldn't come out because it was substantial. I mean, it really was it was a little piece of cloth, but it was jamming it up. So I figured I got it all out. No, I looked in there again. There was more. I mean, there was layer after layer. I spent about a half an hour digging out material from the 3.5 inch, 3 millimeter jack, and kept going and going. Finally got it all out, and it turns out that stuff was actually interfering with the phone's volume operation, because, as you know, when you plug something into the 3.5 millimeter jack, one of the things it does is it transfers the audio, from the speaker to that, and it was actually evidently triggering that to happen. So
maybe that's not a typical Apple consumer problem. Maybe that's just you having a lot of pocket lint, which is concerning. Don't get me wrong, but
well, It was disconcerting. Anyway, finally dug all that stuff out, and rebooted the phone, and everything started up, and it worked fine. But so
I'm glad there was a happy ending
well,
to that
so-
story.
what I now do is I take the phone and I put it in upside down. So technically the top of the phone, which doesn't have any jacks or orifices in it, is now against the bottom of the pocket, and the speaker and the 3.5 millimeter jack is now facing upwards. And so I'm going to see if that works out, if that'll fix it.
Or you
But
could just put it in your shirt pocket.
yeah. But as you said, I thought, oh, that was all.
He's a weirdo, folks. I don't know how else to get this across to you. I feel like if there was a test nowadays to determine who's a human and who's an alien, I feel like the alien would come up and say, "So, which pocket do you keep your phone in?" Humans would say, "Oh, in my right pocket or my left pocket because I'm right-handed or left-handed." And I feel like an alien would say, "Oh, my shirt pocket, for I am efficient, and that is the maximum of efficiency."
And there's no lint.
And
in
then we would have to take out the alien.
And there's no lint in your pants pocket either, right? It's probably more lint in your pants pocket than there is in your shirt pocket.
There's no lint in my pants pocket.
Okay.
You know why? Because that pocket gets used a lot, and any lint that may accumulate in there gets shaken out.
Okay. So what's the story with this rumor that Gadget's talking about?
Oh yeah, they are replacing the 3.5 millimeter head jack with lint. Yes, they're just taking lint from their factories and just cramming it into their phones. No. So instead, the old rumor was the doing away with the 3.5 millimeter head jack and instead relying solely on technology such as Lightning connector or Bluetooth. So, but according to a leakster, this may no longer be the case. Rockfix, a smartphone repair shop based in China's Guangzhou, has recently been posting photos of the alleged iPhone 7 components. One of these is apparently the 4.7-inch model's Lightning cable assembly, which, contrary to what we've been hearing before, still has a headphone jack attached. Dun dun dun. So, and more recently, the shop shared photos of what it claims to be the next iPhone's dual SIM trays, which will be a first for Apple if true. So, other parts shown off by Rockfix include some screen panels in the usual 2 sizes, some SanDisk memory chips of a whopping 256 gigabytes. So, if these are truly parts of an iPhone, then we may even see a 256 iPhone 7. Impressive.
Yeah.
So, plus a dual lens camera for the larger model. So the shop owner also told Engadget that there will be some changes to the antenna design, which he clarified that this won't get rid of those antenna bands in the back of the phone. Maybe it's more to do with the rumored switch to the Intel's modem for the GSM models. So, despite such recent leaks, there's still some uncertainty regarding the iPhone 7 features. For one, just 3 days ago, an industry insider claimed that he heard from a Foxconn source. So, really going, I overheard in a tea shop that Foxconn source saying that Apple has canned the dual lens camera because the technology wasn't ready. But the following day, another insider shot this rumor down as he had heard from multiple suppliers saying that the tooling was already made and that it'd be too late to change it. So he added that Samsung, Oppo, Vivo, and Xiaomi are also exploring dual lens cameras for their upcoming smartphones. So it'll be interesting to see what the mobile industry will offer in the coming months. So it sounds like we have tons and tons of rumors. Everything that they're talking about, like Samsung has dual camera lenses. So, something like that is certainly possible for Apple if it's possible for Samsung. The 3.5 millimeter head jack, again, that would have been a first for the cell phone industry, and we just did an article a couple days ago about why that would be such a bad move. Just for the privilege of saying, hey, we are the first ones to do it, I don't think outweigh all of the peripherals that people use in their daily lives with that little 3.5 millimeter jack. So, it is what it is. But it just goes to show how many sources you can get from the iPhone 7 and yet at the same time not know anything.
Yeah, and it's another episode of As the iPhone Turns.
Yeah. I'm sure that was a reference to something, but I'm just too young to get it.
Soap opera is the daytime. Okay.
I don't know it, but yeah. So the newest rumor is that the 3.5 millimeter is here. That potentially we could see a 256 gigabyte model of the iPhone 7, and that there may or may not be a dual camera. A dual lens camera. So, yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow.
Yes, we'll probably hear other rumors. Okay. Here's a quick story from Ars Technica. Microsoft is testing a new tool to remove OEM crapware from the computers because
crapware, also aka known as bloatware.
Bloatware, yes. Windows 10 already includes ways to clear out applications and data to repair misbehaving systems or prepare them to be sold. Okay. Evidently, Microsoft is now adding a third option, a new refresh tool. Now, and currently it's available only for Windows Insiders. This tool actually fetches a copy of Windows online and performs a clean installation. The only option is whether or not you want to preserve your personal data. And the other software that's installed will be blown away, including the various applications and utilities that OEMs continue to bundle with their systems. They paid good money to have that put on my computer, and they're going to be really angry about this. And aren't we glad? Oh, music means we are up against... Boy, where's time going here? We had to take another break here at the Computer America Show. As I remember,
just like a water puddle in Phoenix, it's going away.
Yeah, it's evaporating. We've got another news tips bulletin review from Marty Winston. This one's going to be about August Home. Looks interesting. We'll be back with that right after this. Stay with us. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf's staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Why does global warming all have to happen in my yard? Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the August Home front door devices. August sent their smart home setup. The app-activated Bluetooth-linked deadbolt is nice. It's our favorite in that the outside deadbolt keyed cylinder is unchanged and everything can still work manually. We don't find Bluetooth in an app any easier than a key on a keyring, but many people do. The second piece is their Wi-Fi linked doorbell cam, which rings on the handset where you can see who's there, have a two-way chat, and unlock the door if you choose to. The third piece is a keypad that's a front door alternative to having a key or their app and a code. We tried a dozen times to get it configured and it wouldn't, so can't tell you. Bottom line, August Home Products represent some of the leading edge of current smart home products and answer many user wishes. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 33 minutes past the hour as we are wrapping up our show here for today. Quick Monday. Hopefully we've helped a couple of you out here on our Monday show as we take you out of your workday. And we continue on with this article from Ars Technica. Craig just started it about how Microsoft is testing a new tool to help you remove OEM crapware or bloatware.
Exactly. But again, it is not available yet. It's called it's a refresh tool that they're putting on. It's currently in preview and evidently has some quirks. It installs a preview build from the Fast Track, but Microsoft notes that the new tool can sometimes install a version older than the one currently installed. When this kind of version mismatch occurs, the option to preserve your files is removed. I was going to say, and it puts double the amount of crapware on your. No, it doesn't. I'm just kidding. The new app was released alongside Build 14.367 for both desktop and mobile devices. As Microsoft approaches the release of the Windows 10 anniversary update and tries to nail down the last major bugs, preview users should expect a regular series of minor updates that clean up some of the remaining rough edges. Insiders are also being asked to perform certain quests to test specific parts of Windows and report their bugs. These range from use Cortana's new wider language support to provision a device using the enterprise deployment tools. These are all available there. Okay?
All right. So, you okay?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right. All right, so I was waiting for you to comment something about it, but all right, so yeah, that's that story. And as we move on to hopefully something a little more interesting than an OEM bloatware elimination tool, how about we go on over? And there were a couple I want to do here. All right, let's do this one. This is a kind of in the same vein as we've been talking about, but this is with it has the added benefit of having a particular celebrity in the title, and this is Alicia Keys, singer, performer, entertainer. Alicia Keys is done playing nice. Your phone is getting locked up at her show. Seriously, and yeah, it's happening. So this is from New York, and it's I'm sorry, the article takes place in New York, but is actually from the Washington Post. And yeah, for those of you who don't know, on a cool Manhattan night, DJ Walton, who helps manage Alicia Keys, steps outside the Highline Ballroom to tell the guy that that he may allow to bring a cell phone to the singer sold out gig. But the list is very short on people who actually get to take the phone. And what's happening is that when you go into a show, I guess these artists are getting so fed up with people taking their phones out, disturbing others around them, just like a movie theater, or possibly even recording the show, or any number of things you can do to make a performer kind of do a double take at you while you're sitting there in the audience, or even watching the entire audience through your phone, because why enjoy the moment if you're going to enjoy the moment later? But instead, at the Alicia Keys concert, there is something called Yonder, and it's these little bags that are available at the venue, and you slip your smartphone into it. They're made of very soft material. It's not going to scratch or harm your phone in any way, but you slip your phone into it, and then a lock locks, and you cannot open it again. Your phone is trapped inside of Yonder.
But you keep it. You keep the pouch.
You keep the pouch. You keep the phone. And the only way to get it out of Yonder, of course, you could take scissors to it or something like that. But the only way to really get it out without the aid of tools is by going outside the venue and tapping the case on a metal disc about the size of a bagel. And by doing that, the little clasp unlatches and you are able to get your phone out, and then you just deposit your Yonder case there at the venue.
You know,
Kind of like 3D glasses.
yeah, consumers I like this because you're not like telling them to put their phone in a locker, you know, where they're physically separated from it, and you know they're worried it could get stolen. You know, the point is the phone never leaves the consumer, the person who owns it.
You are not separating people from their phone, right?
No. So it's in there.
So-
it's just that you need to go outside and tap it on the bagel to open it up.
Right, not on a bagel, but on the bagel, the metal bagel like device.
Yes.
Where then it would unlock, and yeah, this has become the go-to tool for a bunch of artists, including Dave Chappelle, the Lumineers, and Louis C.K., because I think every one of them has had at least some kind of riff about, has had that bout with the audience who holds up their phone and records stuff that they aren't supposed to be recording. So
This was, remember how Adele had,
yeah,
there was
I
a-
think Adele stopped like an entire show and called out a person, a fan by name, and told them to put away their device.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, it's. I've heard other cases, or at least I've heard commenters online say things like, "Oh, so this is for cell phones. Thank goodness I can still take my iPad and record the whole thing on that." I don't think they like that either. It was a joke, obviously. Craig didn't laugh, so it couldn't have been too good of a joke. But yeah, the only kind of criticism that this new tactic has kind of garnered is that in case of an emergency where you need to essentially flee the venue, how are you going to get people to unlock their phones as everyone is mass migrating out of the venue? When it's calm and orderly after a show and before a show, it actually doesn't take too long. Like it doesn't really take, it really doesn't add too much time to the whole process. But in cases of max exodus, there may be some confusion about how to get access to their phone, because again, in an emergency, a phone is almost crucial. So, there, other than that one drawback, many artists have been using it for quite a while now. And like you said, Greg, a lot of consumers themselves actually enjoy it, because now, when you look out across the crowd, you don't just see 1,000 cell phones all recording the exact same thing. You actually see a crowd of people enjoying the music or whatever performance they're watching, enjoying it in real time.
Right. Exactly.
And that's something that hasn't been happening lately. If you go to any kind of concert or what have you, or if you watch anything on television, you'll see that, okay, sure, there's a guy with a $15,000 camera rig, or the theater has put up $100,000 worth of audio visual equipment, but thank goodness you came with your $600 iPhone, because you're going to get such a better shot than what they have. It made almost no sense, but they're trying to bring an end to it. And again, it's called Yonder. Don't be surprised if you see it the next time you go to any kind of venue.
Yep, exactly. Well, I think it's a good idea. I mean, short of the artist calling you out and saying, "Hey,
it's cool that they were able to, and like one of the cool things is that I heard it's actually like they put in a little jammer inside of the pouch, so it's not like you feel it buzzing all night, where it's like, oh, I just got a text message, I just got a message, I just got this, that. It actually jams the phone so that you can't receive anything while you are inside the venue. So, like, unless you need to go use your phone, you aren't going to be tempted to go out and check your phone every 2 seconds, because it won't be ringing every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
They've really thought this out, and I think this is probably the best solution I've heard to getting people to stop recording these shows on their phones.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I think it's a very good idea. The least invasive, as I would say.
It is.
Except, as you say, if people have to do a mass exodus out, that could cause a problem. But I'm sure you could find one of those little bagel tap things somewhere else to unlock.
Yeah, but what if
you still have your phone with you?
yeah, but what if there's 3,000 people all trying to unlock their phones at the same time?
Well, worst case, you go home with a pair of scissors and open it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, again, it's not something that's happened before. It's not like, 3,000 people can't get access to their phones now after something awful happened. It's never happened before. Completely blue skying, but it's the only drawback that I could find.
I think it's kind of reaching kind of deep. I don't think it'll ever really.
Greg, reaching is your thing. That is all you do.
What if?
That's your MO.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what if the hotel burns down after I book my registration?
What if? Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. What if that thing that's never happened?
Okay. Here's one from Ars Technica. I kind of teased it before. GameStop in the news again. Nintendo's next system will support physical retail's games. In this day and age of downloads, boy, evidently the NX won't be the first major home console to go download only. Okay. Again, from Ars Technica, Kyle Orland, he says that since its offhanded announcement more than a year ago, Nintendo has released precious few details about its upcoming NX console, currently set for a March release. This has left the press to speculate wildly about new hardware systems with a brand new concept, unquote. We've been hearing that for how long now?
Yep.
That's also why it qualifies as news when the CEO of GameStop confirms publicly that, yes, the NX will sell games on physical media, just like pretty much every other home console ever made. So it's not going to be download only, I guess, much to the release of GameStop, because that's primarily what they do, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, the whole reason to have a physical retail location is for your physical media.
Yeah.
If it's all digital, then you don't need a physical place to distribute digital goods.
Yeah. Well, evidently, the statement in a recent earnings conference call comes about a year after patent filing-based rumors suggested the NX might eschew retail games entirely in favor of the download-based business model. But evidently, don't believe everything you read. He's quoted as saying, "I won't say that the fact that there are rumors of that type just confirms for you that this is an important console for next year." He said the NX will have physical media. He says we will play a role in it. That's GameStop, the CEO's talking about. And he says our pre-owned business will also play a role. So we're excited about that as well. Okay. So aside from niche consoles like the Steam Machine line and Ouya, there is yet to be a major home game console that has completely done away with games distributed on physical media. In other words, you can still take your Xbox One and put in a DVD, right?
Well, yeah, but it does Blu-ray. I mean, I don't know why you would do a DVD.
But Blu-ray. Okay, yeah, exactly. Sony released the download-only PSP Go Portable in 2009, but the redesigned handheld failed to have much impact on the market. Now, that hasn't stopped people from assuming a download-only home console is coming. Okay. Back in 2012, there were rumors suggesting Microsoft might get rid of the discs on the Xbox One, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have happened if, not right away, but eventually down the road. Just like how they released the Xbox One S that we saw out at E3 and the Xbox Project Scorpion. But I feel like it could have happened with like one of those iterations if the pushback for an internet-only console, where like you have to have the internet to even access the console whatsoever. If there hadn't been so much pushback against that, then we could have seen the rise of an Xbox no disc console.
Are you saying that you believe it to be a good thing? I mean, to have internet only, download only, and get rid of all physical media?
I'm just saying that I have been gaming on my computer a lot. I don't go down to Sam's Club. I don't go down to Costco. I don't go down to Walmart to pick up my video games on disc for my computer. My computer is solely digital media and downloads.
Yeah.
It's or streaming. I think it's possible, and with consoles becoming more and more like computers, I think it's probably inevitable that it's going to be this way. But video games on the console have something different because they have 30 plus years of being able to go over to your friend's house and say, hey, let me borrow your copy of blank blank blank, and you can do that. I think console gamers expect that physical copy that they can loan, that they can borrow, that they can hold in their hand and put into their console. But computers have
when
clearly moved away from that.
Well, when they do that and they loan that disc, it's my understanding that it removes the copy or just makes the copy that they have on there unplayable. In other words, they're not two copies of it floating around. I mean, they still make their money. He can play it or anything, but then you can't play it, right? When you lend them the disc, is that correct?
Right, because they have the disc.
Okay, exactly. Okay.
It's not just an installed disc; it's an actual disc that the console actively reads from.
Right. Okay. But it makes the game slower, doesn't it? Because obviously access to the hard drive is going to be much more quick than
read-write speeds for the consoles and the trays. They're just as fast as hard drive speeds.
Okay. All right.
And again, the PC market has done without physical, video game sales for quite a while now. I think if the computer market has figured it out, and the fact that consoles are, again, becoming more and more like computers, it's only going to be a matter of time. Luckily for GameStop, it looks like for consoles, it's not going to be anytime soon. But it's undoubtedly just like the end of big, tall tower computers and the traditional hard drive instead of the solid-state drive. Just technology that we can clearly see is going to replace something eventually. It's just not there right now.
Well, I mean, there's always the worry that up to GameStop that it's going to travel the road of Blockbuster and what have you. I mean, eventually it's going to go away. I mean, right now
they've kept themselves alive by offering, physical in-store. Kind of like GameStop really doesn't make that much money on selling new games. Like they make pennies for every game that they sell in store. So if you go in and you buy a copy of Halo 5, they're making 3 cents a copy for a new game.
All right.
They make their money off of the used game marketplace, where you can go into a GameStop and they'll purchase your AAA title that may have been $60 when you purchased it. You go in and they'll pay you $8 for it, and you say, no one else is going to give me anything for it. GameStop is standing here going to give me cash for it. Let's do this. They'll give you $8 for it, and then they'll turn around, and where they make their money is instead of the person purchasing the new $60 Halo 5 off the shelf, they'll purchase the $23 Halo 5 that's sitting right here and works perfectly fine. And GameStop just made themselves $15 off of that game that new would have been 30 cents to them.
Got it.
That's how they make their money. So they have a lot of interest in making sure physical media stays in play, is because, they can't just be an outlet for physical media. They have to be a trading marketplace for used physical media.
And there's still a viable marketplace for that kind of interactivity.
Oh yeah, for sure. People are, like right now, if you want to go purchase, let's say Fallout 4, which just at the beginning of this year was $60. I believe it's still $60. It hasn't hit those low it hasn't hit the lowering benchmarks yet. Like you may find it for $50, but enough people have played it, tried it, said, this game isn't for me, or had done all they cared to, returned it for the $10. And instead of going out and purchasing a AAA $60 game, you can buy it for $30, and GameStop just made themselves $20. It makes so much sense. But to a lot of people, physical media is outdated.
Well, the GameStop CEO thinks that the NX's continued support for physical retail games will be good news for its bottom line. Should the new NX perform only slightly better than the Wii U, it would still generate $2.7 billion of incremental sales over the first 2 years. Again, that's from the Executive Vice President of Strategy for GameStop. He said, should it perform at even half of the levels of the Wii, it would generate $7.5 billion in incremental sales over that time frame.
And again, the Wii U was admittedly, successful enough that it pays for itself. But the Wii itself, like the original Wii console, was massively successful. So it said, slightly better than the Wii U. It will generate 2.7, and half as good. Again, not even a little bit better than the Wii U, but half as good as the Wii U, and it generates 3 times as much revenue.
Yep.
It just goes to show how much GameStop. Almost right out there. It just shows how much GameStop stands to lose if even one console maker goes diskless. Just like Craig, you were saying how you wish the 3.5 millimeter jack would go away.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of economic fluctuation out there. If just one manufacturer chooses to go a different way, it affects a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. Anyhow, they're not going via the way of Blockbuster. GameStop's going to be around for quite a while, looks like.
Right. So speaking of one little change can upset a lot of people, here's Paris. No, not Paris, Illinois, or Paris, Texas. Paris, the city in France.
Yes.
Right. So they're saying they're fearing Amazon Prime Now, which again, Amazon Prime Now, if you don't know, I believe that is the Amazon Prime service that you can get things delivered to within hours of ordering it from Amazon. They have them in select cities, but with Amazon Prime Now, they're saying that if this spreads to Paris, it could actually destabilize its economy with this 1-hour delivery service.
Wow.
Yeah, destabilizing an entire economy. And again, this is Paris, France. That's huge. So
you would think that people would be there with open arms greeting a 1-hour delivery service like this.
No, and people may, like, that's the problem. If people are really thrilled about it and the people really do like it, there goes Paris, France's multiple shops. Because shops are now outdated. This is new technology having the potential to shake up what is seen as traditional. So so Amazon has brought its 1-hour grocery delivery service to Paris, and the city isn't thrilled. So Prime Now is available to premium subscribers who pay €49 a year with free 2-hour deliveries and €6 for 1-hour shipping. So besides groceries, the company will ship thousands of other products like Kindles and electronics. So Prime Now has launched in the US and parts of Europe without much protest. In fact,
but I think what they're saying here, it's the crux of the article, is that it's not the electronics that's getting the Paris in a twist. It's the food delivery services.
Yes.
Setting the mayor of Paris. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely. So from a consumer standpoint, there's a lot to like about Prime Now. The fact that here in the US, when it was announced, people were wondering, is it available in my area? Because Prime Now sounds like an awesome deal.
Mm-hmm.
But for Paris residents can get fruit and vegetables from the world's largest wholesale producer, which normally sells only to restaurants and markets. That means that they can get croissants and other baked goods or even a laptop without having to leave their apartment. And the service operates until 10 p.m. every day, including Sunday, when most Paris stores and supermarkets are closed. They're saying that the convenience and the fact that this comes free for 2-hour delivery is going to so severely outperform traditional supermarkets that they won't even be able to compete.
Wow.
So they're saying that besides the competition issue, the city of Paris is also concerned about the extra pollution and traffic in the city. It recently banned vehicles built prior to 1997, and by 2020 will ban pre-2010 vehicles from daytime driving.
Wow.
That's it. Obviously, Paris is trying to
cut air pollution.
Yeah, cut air pollution. So the city now wants the French legislature to establish safeguards that ensure Amazon services don't constitute unfair competition against retailers and craftsmen. And hey, we've seen there's a reason Amazon is, let's see, as of right now, I actually have it here on my phone. Amazon is worth $714 a share, where just a year ago they were like less than half that. Amazon is displacing so much technology and providing services to so many people. They're almost a world power in and of themselves.
Mhm.
They're so influential. So bringing something like this, like Prime Now, for food, you could run quite a number of grocery stores out of business in a place such as Paris, France.
Well, it's nice though when you're in Paris to order a croissant and sit on the outside restaurant and kind of enjoy the.
Yeah, but if you live there, that's old hat. Why not just have all the food delivered to your door in an hour?
Yeah, I guess so. That might be the way. Well,
90 seconds.
technology. I guess,
And again, at a cheaper price because they're buying them from a company called Rungus or Rungi, because it's probably French, which traditionally only sold to restaurants and supermarkets. So they're getting the food even cheaper than the consumer can get it from those places.
well, that about does our computer and technology news. Boy, these 2 hours kind of flashed on by here. We had so many other great stories we didn't get a chance to get to. Coming up tomorrow, Ben, we're going to have
60 seconds.
Anima Project, the CEO. He's actually located in Spain. Anima Gate of Memories is a third-person action RPG game that we're going to be talking about. And what makes it different? We'll find out. It's being developed on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and also next-gen console releases as well. And then in the second hour, yes, we'll do more computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Hey, thanks to all of you for being here with us. And Ben and I will see you here, same time, same place. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one, everyone.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, everybody, again, thanks for watching the show. Have a great rest of the day, and Ben and I will see you here tomorrow with Anima Project. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.